Okay, so over the last 6 weeks or so, I've been covering this baby reindeer Fiona Harvey story, and I've made a slew of videos about it. Some people have even come out and painted Fiona Harvey as a sympathetic character, since she has said she was never convicted of stalking the way the character based off of her in the baby reindeer series was. But I have been saying whether she has been legally convicted or not is not the point. Because regardless if she has actually been to prison or not, she does very much have a vast history of stalking. And the only reason she wasn't ever convicted before is not because she's innocent, but that law enforcement just doesn't do anything when you try to file a stalking report against someone. They say they can't do anything unless there has been some kind of assault. They can't do anything unless the law is broken. So they are essentially saying that it's legal to stalk someone just as long as they don't physically assault you. So that's the only reason she evaded a conviction. A legal loophole. A loophole that needs to be sealed up. There should be stricter laws against stalking to protect people from situations like this. So we now have yet another person to speak out and say that they have been stalked by Fiona Harvey. This is George Galloway. He's 69 years old, a British politician, broadcaster, and writer who has served as Member of Parliament. In 1983, Galloway became General Secretary of the London charity War on Want. Galloway was the Member of Parliament for Glasgow Hillhead from 1987 through 1997 and Glasgow Kelvin from 1997 through 2005. In 1998, he started a political campaign called the Merriam Appeal. So he recently went on to Piers Morgan Uncensored to debate politics, but at the end of their discussion, Piers Morgan asks George about his past interactions he had with Fiona Harvey in the 80s. So let's check out that segment.
Let's end up with this, which is extraordinarily, you told me something before we came on air, that you were watching my interview with Fiona Harvey, who is the real life Martha from Baby Reindeer.
Yeah.
And you suddenly revealed to me that you had a problem with her in your life. Tell me about it.
I saw her sitting in this chair. I was riveted by your interview, which, by the way, was a master class. Morgan at his best.
Okay.
It took me right back to the 1980s when stalking was up close and personal, because there was no emails, there was no texting. You had to either phone someone on their landline or turn up at their door. That's real stalking, and that's what she did to me.
And here we have yet another person to come forward and say that Fiona Harvey has stalked them. As I said on previous videos, notice that no one that actually knows Fiona has come forward to defend her. The only people who say she is a sympathetic character are people on the internet who do not actually know her. But listen to what the people are saying who do know her. Richard Gadd, Laura Ray, and now George Galloway. They all say the same thing, that she stalks and harasses them.
In what way?
She was forever on my case. She was a member of the Labour Party. I think you got that out of her. She was a member of the Labour Party in my Hillhead constituency. I had just been elected MP in 1987, defeating Roy Jenkins. And suddenly I find this obsessive woman in my midst. And everywhere I turned, she was there. And at first I thought that she fancied me, but it turned out that she fancied my job. And so she was a relentless and physical, up close and personal, stalker of mine. And I'm ready to testify.
Like I said, Fiona Harvey does not want this lawsuit with Netflix to go to trial. There are going to be so many people like this who come forward to testify against her, but no one to testify in her defense. She claims to have all these professional and legal friends, but yet not a single one of them have surfaced to publicly defend her. So not only is she a stalker, but also a liar.
How many times did she try and call you, for example?
She called me hundreds of times.
Really?
Hundreds of times.
So Richard Gadd said she emailed thousands of times between 2014 and 2018. Laura Ray said she left hours of voicemails in the late 90s. And now George Galloway saying she called him hundreds of times in the late 80s. Now, how is this pattern going to look if this lawsuit goes to trial? And the longer this lawsuit goes on, the stronger the case will be against her as more and more people come forward and testify against her.
And she showed up probably hundreds of times.
Really? At
in
your
the
home?
most inappropriate places.
Ever at your
my
home?
office, wherever she discovered that we were, me and my staff and my inner circle, she'd breeze in.
So not only did she bombard him with phone calls, but she also followed him and his staff around, showing up at his office, popping up at random events. This is psychotic and scary behavior. And maybe if there were stricter laws against stalking, then Fiona Harvey could have been dealt with in the 80s and never would have gotten to stalk and harass Laura Ray and Richard Gadd.
Exactly the things that she acknowledged that she had done. I mean, turns out that Netflix said she had done and been certain things, places that she hadn't. So I wish her the best in her legal action.
Well, they said
against
she'd
them.
been convicted, which wasn't the case. She'd never been to court by the look of it.
Yeah.
And who cares? Why does Piers Morgan continue to say over and over that she has never been convicted? As if she should just get a free pass from all of the stalking and harassing she has done simply because she may not have been legally convicted. If a man was suspected of being a serial killer, would it matter if he has a clean legal record? Is it possible someone with a clean legal record could be guilty of crimes they were never convicted of? Does lack of conviction make someone automatically innocent?
But you also knew the Scottish lawyer and her MP husband.
Yes.
Laura Ray.
Laura Ray, who was a distinguished lawyer and the wife of a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, God rest his soul, Jimmy Ray.
Okay, so George knew Laura and Jimmy Ray. Jimmy Ray and Laura Ray were married and had a son, and Fiona contacted social services and filed a false report that Jimmy and Laura had been beating their son. All because Fiona wanted revenge on Laura, who fired her, and fired her justifiably because Fiona was causing all kinds of chaos in the office. So Fiona takes it on herself to lie to the authorities and report Laura and Jimmy Ray as abusive parents. I'm sorry, but that warrants an arrest. You don't do stuff like that, and if you do, you should do jail time. So instead of Fiona complaining how Netflix said she was a convicted stalker, she should be counting her lucky stars that she evaded jail time for the crap she did to people dating all the way back to the 80s.
MP, W-R-A-Y. Jimmy, she quite fancied Jimmy's job too.
So at this time in the late 80s, Fiona would have been in her early 20s, and she wanted Jimmy Ray and or George Galloway's job. So instead of being patient, working her way up the ladder, networking, building up a resume, raising her education, etc., she decides to take a less traditional route and attempts to get promoted through intimidation, stalking, and harassment. No idea why she wasn't more successful in her professional career.
I mean, she was...
Did you talk to Jimmy about her?
Yeah, and I've talked to Laura
Really?
about her, and since your interview with her. So it was, on one level, chilling, on another level, hilarious to see that face and to hear that voice again.
Did she ever threaten you?
No. But she...
Did you fear she might harm you?
Yeah, I think when someone's obsessive, you're always afraid that that obsession might take a sudden twist and a potentially dangerous twist.
And this is precisely why there should be stricter laws against stalking and even the appearance of stalking. Because being followed around is nerve-wracking, it's stressful, and that stress can cause someone's health to deteriorate, and that often leads to death. So stalking, although may not directly kill you, it can lead to indirectly killing you. Just another reason people need protection from stalkers like Fiona Harvey.
But she never did harm me or threaten to harm me. She was just in my life when I didn't want her to be.
So although someone may not verbally threaten you, if you show up everywhere they go, you are still making them feel threatened. Whenever they see you, alarm bells will be sounding off in their head. Their blood pressure will raise. Like I just said, the stress you're causing takes a toll on their health, which can cause someone to die, especially if they already are dealing with some kind of health ailment.
When was the last time you heard from her?
The last time I saw her would be around the early 1990s, and I hadn't seen her again until I saw her on your show. I didn't, of course, at that point know that she was the person being alleged to be the baby reindeer, although I had watched Baby Reindeer, but I had no idea that it was her. And then when I saw her on your show, it took me right back to the salad days of the 1980s.
Extraordinary. And sent a chill up your spine.
Yeah, well, a little bit. And a laugh out my throat. I mean, as I say, simultaneously chilling and hilarious at the same time.
Yes, he can look back and laugh now, but he wasn't laughing in the 80s, and Richard Gadd wasn't laughing in the 20-teens. And Laura Ray wasn't laughing in the 90s and still isn't laughing now, as she has stated she still fears Fiona Harvey may come after her all these years later, especially if Fiona were to win a substantial amount of money from the lawsuit with Netflix. Millions of dollars can be very dangerous in the hands of a deranged person. There's no telling what they may try to do. And even if Fiona Harvey doesn't physically go after Laura Ray, she is still stirring up all kinds of rumors and lies about Laura online. I made a video going over a ton of the egregious posts she wrote on Facebook about Laura Ray just a couple months ago. Laura Ray said on her interview with Piers Morgan that if Fiona were to win anything in her lawsuit against Netflix, that she will be suing Fiona for defamation of character, in which I think she'd be able to win pretty easily. So if Fiona were to win any money from Netflix, I think she'd most likely lose most of it about as quickly as it was given to her. Taxes will come out, attorney fees will come out, and then Laura Ray very well may take the rest in a lawsuit.
A little bit like our interview, George.
A bit.
But good, it's good to catch up with you.
And you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good luck.
So yeah, that's about it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, I have a slew of other videos I've made about Fiona Harvey if you want to check those out as well. Thanks for watching. God bless.